Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today I got a real treat for you. His name is John Crisman, and he is a senior water process engineer for Moleaer in beautiful Kansas City. John, say what's up to everybody.
Hey, what's up? Glad to be here on the Public Works Podcast.
Heck yeah. I like it, man. I like it. So, John, you're at a Kansas City. Company's called Moleaer. Give us kind of the, like, let's say it's a Wednesday, you're in the office, a call comes in. What are people calling you and Moleaer about? What problem do you guys solve for people in our industry?
Definitely. So, Moleaer is an innovative technology that creates nanobubbles in all sorts of different waters. So, our company as a whole, we work in aquaculture, agriculture, fish farms, hydroponics, but my specialty really hits home for public works. I'm on the water and wastewater treatment side. So typical call that we get, we've got a problem at our plant, whether it's inefficiencies within the wastewater treatment plant, odor issues, really, our wastewater has changed a lot over the years, and Moleaer's nanobubbles helps bring back the efficiency to those older wastewater treatment plants.
Interesting. You said older, and that's kind of that word in our industry that we all know. All this infrastructure is old, baby. It is old. Speaking of old, take us back. Like, when did nanobubbles come? Like, when did they join the party? And then give us the fifth grade version of like what nanobubbles do to help out in regards to public works wastewater.
Definitely. So nanobubbles are pretty new to the scene. Our technology has really exploded over the last few years. Research into nanobubbles has gone from, in 2015, there was maybe 5 or 6 papers and people studying it. Now there's over 1,200 papers a year being produced on how nanobubbles can improve the efficiency of our water. So on the wastewater side, ultimately, we use nanobubbles as a clean form of chemistry. So using the existing process water, in this case, usually wastewater, we can create these nanobubbles in situ, and they have just amazing effects on separations process and biological treatment process.
Okay. Okay. I like it. When I think of public works wastewater, I've been to the treatment plants. I've been to lunches with the guys. I kind of know, who we're dealing with. In that regard, they got their certifications. They're on the up and up. What would you say is the biggest like head scratcher for them when you start talking nanobubbles and like, aquaculture and hydroculture and agriculture and all that? Like, where do they start? The eyes start to glaze over.
Definitely. Well, it's interesting because we're used to using chemistry in our wastewater treatment plants for various processes. So you're bringing on site, lots of chemicals, big trucks, whether it's for disinfection or for helping the settling treatment process. These are things that we're used to. But with nanobubbles, it's really this idea that we can inject these bubbles into raw wastewater on site with simple equipment that we're used to using. And these bubbles just improve our treatment process. I mean, we can get deep into the science of how nanobubbles work, but we often think of them sometimes as a natural coagulant, which means we're bringing small particles together, which helps in separation process. So early on in a plant, we're floating things out, having things sink, and we can remove some of those contaminants really easily. And nanobubbles just aid in that process significantly. But the real heavy hitters in our wastewater treatment plant is the biology. And that's partially the biology that humans contribute to the plant, but a lot of it's the biomass that we keep there, and we spend a lot of money aerating it, having bacteria consume those contaminants in the water that we don't want to discharge. So
Yeah.
nanobubbles really speed up those biological reactions, and really make our plants healthier. I'll talk happy biology, but it really makes that biology a lot happier, and makes the process much more efficient.
Gotcha, gotcha. Speaking of the process being efficient, like how does it work? Is it done with you, done for you, done by you? Like how does the relationship between Moleaer and the customer go?
Yeah, so typically we'll be introduced to the customer. Either they, find us on a website, or a lot of our cities, municipalities use consultants, engineering consultants. So they'll reach out to us with a problem. And so Moleaer can provide package technology where we provide everything you need to put nanobubbles into the system, or we can work with the customer. Oftentimes, they already have pumps, they have compressed air, which are two of the major components in making nanobubbles themselves. And in that case, we'll provide the device, we'll provide some process support on how to optimize around nanobubble pretreatment. And so we kind of will do everything or just as much as necessary, but we'll work with our customers to figure out which solution fits best.
Sure, sure. You said you're from Kansas City. Would you rather, and you left California to go to Kansas City.
Yep.
If you had to pick between one, California Mexican food or Kansas City barbecue, go.
Well, that's a tough one. I can't get good Mexican food in Kansas City, which I really appreciated in California. But I've traveled all over the U.S., and Kansas City barbecue is by far the best out there.
Okay,
So,
that settles it. That settles it. All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into who John Crisman is. So, was fifth grade John? Were you thinking about nanobubbles the whole time? Give us give us kind of your career path from when you graduated high school and all the way up until
yeah.
today.
Well, it's weird growing up. I always thought that I'd be an engineer. Never thought in a million days that I would be working in wastewater. But ultimately, like a lot of young kids, I wanted out of the home. So I basically took whatever job made me independent. And so I started out in construction of underground utilities. So I was putting in the water pipes, the sewer mains, and ultimately that led me into public works, which is, aptly for this podcast. So I started as a maintenance worker one, working for a city, which meant that I got to do everything. But my specialty was definitely, water distribution at that time. And as careers evolve, new opportunities come up. And so I started my next city job, which was on water resources. And that was really my first exposure to wastewater. And I quickly fell in love with wastewater, which is a weird thing to say, but it is a very complex and a very interesting field to be in. And so I did wastewater treatment for about 17 years. The plant that I left in California, I was the operations manager for the plant. And ultimately, I brought nanobubbles on site to solve a problem that I had at the wastewater treatment plant. And
Interesting.
that was what convinced me to, take this technology really to the world, to solve complex problems that wastewater plants are having.
Wow. Okay. So you're on the public side. What's it like being on the private side now? Haven't been on the public side.
It's different. I mean, a lot of the skills that you learn on the public side absolutely apply on the private side as well. I mean, good communication, organization, uh, you know, being a self-starter, always asking questions, researching. Those are all, skills that transfer over.
Okay. Okay. Do you ever miss being like the wastewater treatment plant operator, slash, just doing the day-to-day maintenance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I missed my plant every day. The great part about my old job was that, when I was tired of sitting in front of a desk, I could go walk around, go check out the plant, see how things were running. I definitely got my steps in around the plant. So I do miss that.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to us about again on the public side, getting talent into the industry. We know it's always one of those things that the people who know everything, they're retiring, they're taking all the information with them. To get a kid out of high school or college to come work at a water treatment plant is difficult, whether it's the certifications or not. What have you seen that's worked in regards to getting that talent and keeping that talent?
Ooh, yeah, that is a tough topic for sure. I mean, this is something that it didn't sneak up on us. As far as an industry, we've known that we weren't going to be able to replace the talent that we had, and it's definitely constantly changing as far as how do we reach the new youth to get them involved in public works. I think that going to the schools is really big. One thing that I give a lot of credit to my previous district that I worked for is that we regularly brought in the public. We regularly brought in the
Cool.
schools so they could actually see what we were doing. And, our youth of today really want to make a difference, but they don't know where to go. Everybody sees, the glitz and glamour of the tech industry. But really, technology is coming into public works. It's coming into our wastewater plants. And to bring them in, show them that there's so much science, there's so much technology being used. It's helping to inspire younger people to get involved in the industry.
Yeah, yeah. And then let's talk engineering. Like, how do you get somebody who's, let's say they're in their second year in college, they finally got to declare a major. Like, how do you get somebody excited about being an engineer on the wastewater side?
Yeah, that's a funny story because if you talk to most engineers that are in wastewater currently, they never thought they would be there. It always just happened, whether it was a mentor or a professor saying, "Hey, you should really take this class and see what you think," and ultimately they find out that, hey, wastewater is really cool.
Yeah, so we need to send more Starbucks gift cards to the professors and mentors and say, hey, steer all these kids into wastewater. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's say we're talking skill sets. What would be the main skill set you would advise a youngster to grab, to pick up, to be successful at what you're doing today?
Well, within water treatment, wastewater treatment, problem solving is key. I mean, I think that that's to be said about any job, but really to be persistent at pursuing new answers, going to new places, keeping an open mind for new technologies, new approaches, um, hang out with people in your industry. That's so critical. Talk to others. Um, you know, Everybody has their own wastewater treatment plant, and a lot of people will only work at that one place. But there's this wealth of knowledge from other people, other plants. That really helps in being successful. Is continuing to be interested and communicating with others about your industry.
When you were on the public side, what was the most, like, I guess, what was your actionable way to be able to talk to those in the industry? Was it through associations, or are you like driving down the street to the next plant and say, hey, how are you guys solving for this? What was your way of getting that done?
Definitely all the above. I would say there's great associations, whether it's rural water associations if you're in the Midwest, or definitely, there's the Water Environmental Association, and each state has its own specific branch of that. And it's great to go to these conferences. They get you excited about what you're doing. You get to talk to others. That's a really great place to start. Outside of that, start your own community organization. You know, talk to your neighbors. They have the same regulators. They have the same chemical suppliers. It's amazing what you can find out when you talk to your neighbor within this industry. And when there's a problem that you've got, they may have a solution for you. And
Yeah.
I've definitely helped out as many as I could around me, and I've had a lot of other plants around me help me out as well. And that's just a great way to work within the industry.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's the cool thing about the public side is you're not competing against the next plant down the street.
Yep.
You know, you're not trying to save profits or beat them out revenue wise. You're just trying to, like you said, solve a problem that they might have had or they might have in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking of problems, I need a story from John when something went wrong under your watch. It could be a public side or on the private side now, but a story when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, working at a wastewater plant, there's never a time that everything is right, and there's always something going wrong. And a specific story, you know, I really come back to kind of what got me in with nanobubbles is, you know, wastewater's changed, and we have to, you know, open our eyes to see how that's happened. At plant that I was working at, we were having periodic upsets to the wastewater treatment plant, and you really have to look everywhere. You got to look internally at, you know, what people are doing, but then you have to look outside the plant. And we were having issues with various processes in the plant, and we're able to go out into the community, once again, find out what's going on. And we found some industrial users that were contributing harmful wastewater to us. And, you know, instead of just telling them to stop, it's like you can communicate out and say, hey, you know, can you change your practices? Maybe it even saves you money to change the way that you do things so that it doesn't impact us at the plant.
Okay. Okay. How does John continue to level up? You know, it sounds like you've made your rounds on the public side, you're on the private side now. What intentionally do you do to keep putting new and useful information in your brain?
Definitely. Well, wastewater is delightfully complex. There is no limit to what you can learn in the wastewater industry. And so when I have a question, whether it's regarding a project that I'm on or a project that somebody else is working on, just follow it up. I mean, you have the internet in front of you. You can find those answers, and whether it's continuing your education directly and learning more on a specific subject, whether it's chemistry or physics or biology, all these things are great ways to level up. And I can't say that there's one day that goes by that I don't sit for an hour researching something that I thought I knew or had a minor grasp on, but I could dig deeper into it and get that deeper understanding. And outside of that, I mean, really get out there, go to the conferences, find out what other people are doing. I mean, not only does it enhance your personal knowledge, but it really gives you that wind behind you to keep going, because other people really help inspire you.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Let's talk misconceptions. What would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions about Moleaer, and that pesky objection you might get, or that pesky question where they think they got you, but you're like, no, we actually do this or that. Like, what are some of those misconceptions?
Definitely. Well, we can't get around the language that we're creating nano bubbles. And the second that you say bubble, people think air or aeration technologies because we use a lot of those within the industry. We use coarse bubbles and fine bubbles, and now there's these nano bubbles. Well, the misconception is that we're trying to do the same thing with nanobubbles as all these other larger bubbles are doing. And what we're doing is so different. So instead of trying to put air into water and create and increase dissolved oxygen, we're using nanobubbles as chemistry to improve reactions. We're bringing, food to the bacteria. We're speeding things up along the way. Totally unique and totally different than these other aeration technologies. So I would say Moleaer in wastewater is not an aeration technology. It's so much more fun and more interesting than those.
Okay. Who would you say is your ideal customer client partner? Like, is it one of those, huge 22,000 trillion, gallons per day plants, or is it like the small rural guys?
Our technology really scales well from the small plants all the way to the large ones. And so a good analogy that I like to give is in wastewater treatment, the big plants like that aircraft carrier across the ocean, it just smashes through all those waves. And so they don't see the upsets. The small plants, though, are like being in that dinghy. Sometimes, you're riding the wave, you can't even see anything around you because it's just waves. And, so those small plants, they really feel the pain of changing wastewater a lot more. And so we can help them out in stabilizing their process, improving it, giving them peace of mind that they're not, stuck between these walls of water. But for the big plants, they have big expenses. And so a chemical reduction of 10 or 20% can be really substantial to them. Or a process improvement where they can gain 25% capacity could really mean a lot. So really, we're looking for all municipal and industrial wastewater treatment plants that want to be more efficient, that want to reduce their chemicals, that really want to optimize their process.
What would you say? I mean, you talked a couple of reasons why they might call, but what are some, I guess, anecdotes or maybe even a case study of like a call that came across your desk? You're like, John, we got this problem. We know your nanobubbles can fix it. Like, what would that problem be on their side?
Yeah, definitely. We have a customer in the Midwest that is next to a large auto manufacturer, and it's a smaller municipal plant. And when they're getting ready to paint parts and do things, they're using a lot of soaps and surfactants. And those soaps and surfactants work directly against our wastewater treatment plant. Instead of allowing things to separate out, they hold solids and fats, oils, and grease and stuff like that in a stable emulsion. But also, those surfactants are toxic to the biology in the wastewater treatment plant. So customer calls us up, they say, we have this problem. We're able to deploy very quickly, and they're learning how to operate the plant the way that it was meant to run in the first place instead, and they're just ripping off all those band-aids that they stacked on top of it to make it work for them. And so really exciting to see how the nanobubbles can improve a process like that.
Sure. Okay. John, I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors that you like to thank along your journey. And then also give a word of inspiration and motivation to your fellow, let's say, wastewater vendor counterparts across the country.
Definitely. So mentors, family always comes up. And my dad was an entrepreneur, ran his own company. And, the fun part about transitioning to the private industry is I can dig into that entrepreneurial upbringing. But outside of that, teachers within the wastewater industry that go out there that are excited and really, get that passion into the industry. There's a lot of them out there. It's hard to, drop names for just one or two. But ultimately, a word of advice to anybody who's coming into this industry: stay curious, ask questions. Don't, don't let roadblocks come up to increasing your knowledge. It's all available for you out there. Call people up like me. I'll help inspire you.
Okay, I like that. Everybody's gonna be calling John for the next couple of weeks. All right, John. Let's say I'm coming to town. I'm coming to Kansas City, and I text you ahead of time. I say, John, where can I go to get the best burger in town? Where are you gonna send me?
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you where to go get barbecue first.
Do barbecue. Barbecue's fine.
Q39 barbecue in
Q39.
Midtown Kansas City.
Okay.
It's about the best you can get. And if you're going to be in Lawrence, Kansas, coming to see KU, go to the Casbah and get a burger. They're excellent.
All right. I like it. Well, John, thank you for hopping on the show today. Thanks for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. John, where can we find more about Moleaer, and then where can we find more about you?
Absolutely. Come to our website. We have amazing people that continuously put up new information. Otherwise, we have a lot of videos on YouTube and definitely on LinkedIn. Stay in contact with your industry folks. LinkedIn's a great place.
100%. Definitely can echo that. John, thank you for hopping on the podcast, and everybody, thank you for listening.
Absolutely.